Hi, I'm Phillips. Welcome to my tiling trade tips. In this video, I'm going to show you how to prepare stud walls ready for wall tiles. Now the tools and materials you're going to require are a spirit level and a straight edge, a cordless drill and screws for fixing the boards on, a dust mask, some packers, a scoring tool, stud detector, reinforced tape for the joints, a trowel, some flexible adhesive for filling the joints, and a large drill and a paddle to mix them. And of course, your wall boards. Now the boards I'm going to be using are a pre-primed cement board. They're 6mm thick, really solid, 1200mm in length by 600mm wide. Now I'm going to be fixing these directly over my plasterboard because these are in good sound condition. You can fit them directly onto the stud work if there was no plasterboard there. I'm going to start off in one corner and work my way across the wall. And in the second course, I'll stagger the joints by 50%. Just like a brickwork effect. Start by giving the surfaces across your wall a good scrape down. Whatever you've had fitted on there, it might have been tiles before, it may have been skirting boards or filler. You need to scrape off every lump and bump as these will hinder your flat boards going against the walls. Now although my plasterboards are firmly fixed to the wall here, I still want to screw my boards through the plasterboard into the stud work. So I need to find out where the stud work is. A great way of doing that is using a stud detector. Now I know I've got a stud starting here at the centre, and if I go across here around about 400mm, I should have a stud about here. Same again about here. Now, if you don't have a stud detector, you can drill a couple of pilot holes through the plasterboard to find the stud behind it, and then use your tape measure and measure across. They should be set at about 400mm apart with 400mm centres between each stud timber. Start with my first panel over in this corner here. Placing it up against one side, I'm getting a couple of packs. I'm raising it off the floor just about 3 to 5mm on both sides. And also packing it away from the wall there too. So now I can mechanically fix these to the wall. I'm going to screw through the board, right through the plasterboard, and bite the timber behind it using 45mm screws. That's my first board now firmly fixed into position. I've used a minimum of 12 screws, catching all 4 studs behind. I'm going to place the second one in position now, leaving a small gap here, but I've got to cut a little shape out of it for the pipe work. So I've marked just either side of the pipe work there, leaving my gap at the side. And then if I measure up, again, using my pencil, right at the very back where that waste pipe comes out, I'm going to draw a little line about 20mm below it. Or of course, you could just take a measurement from the bottom of there, leaving about 20mm gap, about 480, and mark it on the face. Now the shape I'll be going around this kind of comes down like this. Of course it will be getting tiled over and covered, so it doesn't have to be that neat. I'm going to cut this out using a scoring tool. I'll score across the shape of it and then snap it out. But first, I'm going to put on a dust mask. Just like the first panel, a couple of packs underneath the bottom. And same again the opposite side. You're happy that it's lying flush against the wall, then you can screw it into position. Now my wall's about 3.5 meters wide, so 3 panels is just a little bit big, about 1150. So I'm going to cut one of these down. So I'm about 1150, so about here. Measure twice, cut once. So I'm going to take my straight edge, place it on my 2 marks and score it with the scoring knife. So start off nice and gentle, doing your first score. Once it's dug in a little bit, you can put a little bit more pressure on it then and pull it tighter. Once you've scored the face of it, you can get a straight edge, something rigid, put underneath it, and then a block along the edge like this, and snap them. And that's how easy it is to cut. So I'm happy with the length that I've cut from that panel, but before I fix it onto the wall, you probably noticed I've got a spare and fuse power point there. Now this is not going to be used now. The new layout of my bathroom refurbishment, we don't require it. So my electrician has isolated the power to that, meaning I can remove that socket now and put my board straight over the top. Offer this up into position. Check that you've got your 3mm gap you require here, and also a little gap that side against that corner wall. Now if you do have any power points that are staying in situ, you're going to have to mark the size and shape of this up onto your board, score around it and tap it out with a hammer. And now you're ready for your second course. So take a full board, measure it in half, which is 600mm, score it and snap it. The one cut will be your first board on your second row. Place it into position with some packs and drive your screws in. Then you can continue across the wall using 2 full boards, and the other half of your cut may need trimming down, and this can be fitted into position. Then you're on your third course, which will start off with 2 full boards, and on my size wall, the last board is a small cut, taking you straight up to the 4th one, which will start with a cut, the same as your second course did. By staggering the joints by 50% will give you the brickwork effect across the boards, which will help with the strength. So now I'm going to continue it around the corner onto the adjacent wall. Place this into position with a couple of packs underneath and check that it's level. If you're happy with that, you can start to screw through the boards right into the beams behind. Now I've got 3 up, my 4th one is going to be a cut, as this is going to go around the corner of the door frame. Transfer my measurements, the length and the width of the cut. Square them off both sides using a set square. Place the spirit level on top of my line and start to score the board. Score on both sides. However, I'm not going to break it there. Place it onto a trestle and then slowly cut down my lines with an old blunt saw. This will give me a more sharper, square, clean cut for the corner. A couple of little packs in here. A couple of packs the other side. gaps around there. Perfect. Now, the way the stud work will work, the frame will be coming up here, and then another section will be going across there. So whenever you're going around a corner on a door or a window frame like this, you want to cut your section out and not cut this as a straight piece and then add it on there, because the plasterboard might be like that. So always cut it in one piece around your corners. Now, starting with the full board on my third wall, it's packed up. I'm driving my screws right through it, through the plasterboard into the stud work behind. I'll continue doing each course, making sure I'm using the same size packers to create the gap, staggering the joints all the way up to the top. Now, don't worry if the shade of your boards differ a little bit. This often happens when you buy a different batch. So now you've completed applying your boards across all of the walls throughout your room. One double check to see that you've got enough screws in each board. Remember, at least a minimum of 12 screws per board, hopefully trying to catch all of the joists behind it. After removing your packers, you're going to need to fill the gaps that you've created. So mix up some flexible wall or floor tile adhesive. I pour my water into a large bucket, add the powder, and then using a paddle drill, mix this up to a nice smooth consistency. Using a plastering trowel and a hawk, apply a small amount on and start to fill across the joints. I tend to start with doing the horizontal lines across the wall from side to side, making sure that I'm getting enough of the adhesive to fulfill that gap. You don't want to leave any air pockets or gaps between there. Apply your reinforced tape across the joint, making sure you're staggering it by 50%. Once you've taken it from one side all the way to the other, trim it off with your trimming knife, and then take the edge of your trowel and start to smooth it off, making sure that you're covering all the tape with the adhesive, making it as flat and as smooth as possible. Once you've done one line, continue the same method across the others. If these are to be fitted in a wet room, the boards are going to need to be covered with a suitable waterproof tanking system. Once you've got your horizontal lines complete, you can then turn to the vertical ones. Again, using the same method, filling that gap, applying your tape and smoothing it down with the edge of your trowel. So now I've finished reinforcing the joints on the wall boards, I'm going to do one more line across the bottom of the board where it meets the floor. Now it's the same as the rest of the joint. Mix up some of your flexible tile adhesive, spreading it out on the trowel like this, taking a small amount like that, and I'm just applying it into the corner underneath the edges of them boards. Remember, we have got a couple of millimeters gap under there, so you're just pushing that adhesive so it goes right underneath. Now you can apply your tape, half of it onto the baseboard and half of it onto the wall board. Then I'm going to get the edge of my little gauging trowel and just run it in that corner there, pressing the adhesive against the reinforced tape, just making a nice little sharp square edge. As you know, I fitted my boards directly onto the plasterboard because they were good sound condition, drilled and screwed right the way through to the stud work. However, you may have a loose wall at home, like a lath and plaster, and basically it's crumbling away a little bit and you need to stiffen that up. So what you need to do is clean it all down, brush it all away, repair any real damaged areas in there, because you don't want any loose bits of timber, which is the lath on there, where the horsehair plaster then is mixed up and spread on. If that's really loose, remove that, do your repairs, and then seal the whole area. You can prime it. Then what you'll need to do is mix up a flexible floor adhesive. Apply that onto it as if you were tiling the wall, bed your boards over it, screw right through the board, right through the lath and plaster, and then again into the joists. So that's how you install your cement boards to a stud wall that's been plastered. If you're looking for more inspiration or how-to videos, check us out on all social media handles. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. But if you just need to know more about the products I've been using, check out the website, tilemountain.co.uk.